So, welcome to day 3 of Dot Watcher. I am Liam. Last time I checked in with you, we were 33 hours into the race. The lead teams were pushing through leg 7 of the race, which was a bike leg. Since then, those teams have finished off that bike leg. They've completed the canyon and roping section and now making the big push on the massive 264 kilometre bike leg. So at the moment, as it stands, we're about 60 hours into the race. I feel like, actually, I think it'd be easier if I was doing the race myself than keeping track of it all, but we're having lots of fun. So we need to catch up on all the action from the last 27 hours. So as expected, all the lead teams took a sleep on the second night. Seagate had a 2-hour sleep by the side of the trail. Other teams reported that they had FMR said they had 2 hours sleep. AMK had a 1.5 hour sleep, and NatureX said they had a 1 hour sleep. Further back in the course, looking at the mid-pack teams, the big story to come out of it was on that big second trek, checkpoint 9 had a carnage with all the mid-pack navigators. So apparently there's a lot of dead fallen tree in the area. Things definitely got very tricky in there. There were some big winners and losers to come out of that. It seems that a number of teams did rather well through there, including Teton Adventure Racing, Canada Adventure Racing, Out North Adventure, and Columbia Vitaraid. However, other teams did struggle a little bit. Godzone seemed to have a little bit of trouble, but other teams which really struggled were Black Hill Aparvanet, Sweatco, Untamed New England, and Raddy's team Switzerland, along with Cyanosis. Cyanosis said that they managed to drop about 8 places through that one navigation mistake. They estimate they lost around about 8 to 10 hours in that time. And to top off things, they also reported that they were missing a pair of bike nicks for the big bike leg to come after that. So a lot of action and carnage on that trek leg. So at this point, we might have a quick check-in on the trackers and see all the action as it's happening from the front of the race. So if we turn to the trackers, as you can see, Seagate are out in front on this big 264 kilometre lead. Their gap to second place is about an hour and a half, 2.5 hours, but they did have a 1.5 hour sleep just in here somewhere as well. In second and third place, it's been a very tight battle between the two Swedish teams of the Swedish Armed Forces Adventure Team and Silver. They've been tracking side by side all the race. Now, one of the volunteers at one of the transition areas asked, are they working together? They reported that no, they're just doing their own race, doing their own thing. In fact, they're not always traveling next to each other, but one will make a little error, stop to fix something, and the other one will catch them up. This was the case all the way through to this checkpoint back here, which is checkpoint 24. Yep. So you can see that there's 2 nominated routes which are different between the 2 checkpoints, and the 2 Swedish teams went different directions. The Swedish Armed Forces team are the big winners out of that. They've come out ahead and clear-cut second place. Haglos Silver's overshot this turn-off. They're now making their way back to that checkpoint and have consolidated their third place. Interesting to see 2 Swedish teams in the top 3, well, on the podium positions as they currently stand. It sort of harkens back to the 2011 Adventure Racing World Champs, where I think we had 4 Swedish teams in the top 6. Also interesting to note that there's going to be an expedition race in Sweden next year. It's part of the World Series races for the first time in around about 10 years. So powerhouse country for adventure racing. Speaking of powerhouse countries, we then go to our 4th place team, which is a little bit of a surprise package, Luzier Sport Nature. They've had a very consistent race throughout. And on to our 5th place team, which is NatureX. So NatureX have also had a consistent race, storming through the race now in what must be, by my count, 6th place is Estonia Ace Adventure. These guys are just getting stronger to the back of the race. AMK have consistently been in that block. They were in around about 5th place only an hour ago, but I suspect they've stopped for a sleep now. So expect a lot of these changes to move over, a lot of these positions to change in the next couple of hours as teams decide to sleep. On night 3, they're definitely going to need to have a break before the next big push. In what must now be 8th place is Team FMR, another French team. FMR had worked themselves all the way up into 4th place, but then had a big error on checkpoint 20. It didn't cost them much time, but they slipped from 4th to 8th place with that one error. So I'm sure they'll be a little bit disappointed, but then working hard. Again, interesting to note, 3 French teams in the top 8. Next year's World Championships are going to be on French soil at the Reunion Islands. So it's great showing from those countries, from that country. Up in ninth place is Columbia Vitterade, ranked second in the world. It's not surprising to see this team charging hard. So apparently they had a sick team member on the first day of the race, John, so they took things very easily at first. After the first big checkpoint 3, they're in 29th place, so they've pushed all the way through to 9th place in a fantastic effort. And then rounding out our top 10 is Godzone. When we look at the local charge, obviously AMK consistently the top ranked American team. Back from that is Teton Adventure Racers, who again having another big sleep. They were quite happy with their navigation through the second big trek leg, but were still amazed by the efforts of the leads teams and how quick they are. Keeping in mind, this team's had a couple of team members who've won the Cowboy Tough Expedition race previously. From there, third place in the American top American teams. It's a close racing between Untamed New England and Yoga Slackers for that coveted top 3 American teams. So catch up towards the back of the field. We had a few high-ranking DNFs last night, and now coming to night 3, there have been a few additional DNF teams. These include Terra Adventure, Racing Denmark, and our previous Lantern Rouge team, Tall Dude and Dirt Skirt Sisters. So it's unfortunate to see they've pulled out. That does mean the mantle of the Lantern Rouge moves to a new team. Keeping in mind, the Lantern Rouge is the last place team on the fully ranked course. By my calculations, this is now the team USMES, captained by JD. He's a real character of American adventure racing. So while they're the last team in full ranked course, they're actually in 44th place in a field which had 58 starters, so they're still doing really well. They're now on that big trek leg. They'll need to push hard. They've only got about 17 hours to make it through to the next cutoff, so won't be able to take too much sleep and will have to nail that course, but it is definitely doable, so fingers crossed for that team. We have a number of unranked teams as well. These include the Adventure Addicts Racing and Lupine Racing, who both got 2 team members which have joined forces together. Cloud Peak Cowboys, USW Adventure, Good Enough, and AR Georgia have all pushed on with at least 1 team member missing. Now, there are a select number of teams, and I can't get to them all now, who are not going to do that second big trek leg. They've just been told to bypass it on their bikes. It adds about 80 k's of cycling to the 320 k cycling ahead of them, so about 400 kilometers of cycling, just broken up by a trip down some ropes and in the cave. So a lot of riding ahead for those teams. Those teams will be classified as unranked though, so don't be surprised to see that leaderboard update as such. That brings us for what's to come ahead of us. Well, hopefully in the next 24 hours we're going to announce the 2017 Adventure Racing World Champions. Once these teams in the lead finish this big bike leg, there's only about 12 hours of racing left. Legs 10 and 11 are a combined 70 kilometres long with a mixture of trekking and pack rafting. Some of that rafting is on flat water and some on moving water. Total expected time about 9 hours. Then leg 12, which is about 54 kilometres of cycling and expected to only take about 3 hours. There are reports that there have been a few storms in the area as well, and that there may be some wind. Wind will play a massive factor on both these bike legs, but also paddling on the flat water as well. So something to keep an eye on. We're going to wrap it up there with our last segment, which is our pick of the picks. This one I've gone for here is a photo by Chris Radcliffe. It's a photo of the Checkpoint 4, which is at the Pinedale Visitor Centre. It's on that first bike leg. And I just like it because it gives you a bit of a feel of the culture in the area that teams are racing through. Anyway, that's me done for today, day 3 of the Dot Watcher. Make sure to check out the Adventure Centre, brought to you by Eric and Viv, as well as all the other action from the live.arworldseries.com website. Hopefully, when I check in with you guys next in around 24 hours, we're going to have a capstone on the lead teams, and we're going to be able to take a little bit more of a focus on all that action that's happened in those tough battles for the top 10 and top 20 places.